this presentation, I want to talk to you about goals, goal setting, and the different kinds of goals, and also the difference between goals and expectations. You've all heard how important goals are to athletic performance, and part of the reason is it keeps an athlete's motivation at a high level. However, goals need to be set properly, because if you get a goal that's set too high, unattainable, unreachable, and it's just some kind of a fantasy or pie in the sky, time is going to be the athlete's enemy, because they're not progressing towards that goal that they set that was so ridiculously high. And so if an athlete gets to a certain level of frustration, then many times what we'll see is just termination or resignation. And that's what we don't want. As coaches or parents or athletes or consultants, we don't want to get to the point where it is an all or nothing thing. In other words, if the subconscious mind cannot see a way forward to achieving this goal, then the thing that you're doing, the work, the time, the effort, everything that's involved, all the money and everything else, it becomes fruitless and then futile. When you get to that point as an athlete, you're done. And so that's why as consultants, we want to help our athletes set very smart goals. And that is the reason why this analogy, SMART, has been around for some time as far as goal setting is concerned. And that's where I want to start with you at this time. The SMART analogy, like I said, has been around for some time, and it does make some sense. Makes a lot of sense, actually. But it is a standard in sport and exercise psychology. So let's go through them step by step and make a little bit better definition of them, a little bit more clear, so that you can apply it to either yourself or your athlete. The S in SMART means specific. The goal needs to be very specific. Now, before we get into specific, are we talking about a long-term specific goal, a mid-term specific goal, or a short-term specific goal? And that's a great question. I know that many people have had fantasies of being, the heavyweight champion of the world, or Masters champion, or world's fastest man, something like that. And that's a long-term goal, but it's not specific enough. See, that's a fantasy. That's something that's way off down the road. Now, you could say, I am going to go to the 2020 Olympics, and I am going to run in this race, or I am going to, achieve this particular time, and so forth and so on. But I would challenge you on that and say, okay, that's great, and that's fine. I'm the how guy. How are you going to do it? And that's where very specific short-term goals, what would be called a process goal. Now, I know you've heard that word over, the process, as opposed to an outcome, but it's true. It is true. If you're talking about winning a gold medal in the 2020 Olympics, that is an outcome goal. That's something that you want to happen down the road. It's not specific enough. Even though the language sounds specific, I want to win a gold medal in this match at this time, and so forth and so on. You've got to put in the blocks in between. How are you going to do that? I mean, lots of people say that, but it's just a fantasy. And quite frankly, at any point in time, I want to be a PGA Tour player. Well, where are you right now? Well, I'm a mini tour player. Well, you're not that far off. You're not that far off. Now, let's get you to the web.com. All right. How are we going to do that? Well, XYZ, you see. So PGA Tour, that's a long-term goal. Yes, it is. Is it a fantasy? It would be at this time, but it's still a goal. And so the reason why you want to be specific with your short-term goals is that it redirects the mind into process thinking. What do I mean by process thinking? A process goal is very simple. What am I going to do today to achieve my goal? Well, that would require action on a daily basis, because every day that you work towards your long-term goal is another day that you're closer to your long-term goal. But I will warn you on this. in between you right now and a long-term goal is probably a lot of real estate, and a lot of things are going to happen in between now and then. You got to be aware. You got to be aware of those kinds of things. You got to be pliable, and you can't be so unbreakable. In other words, I don't know of any person that has said, I am going to achieve this goal, A to B, and B being way, way out there, and it just being a straight line. I've never, ever heard of that. More likely, a goal is this way, that way, this way, that way, and then eventually you find it. You'll get there. And so what do I mean by those things? Well, for one thing, if you're an athlete, you're going to have an injury. I don't know of any athlete that's never had some kind of an injury. Now, hopefully this injury is not too bad that it can be rehabbed. Hopefully it can be, even if it's a replacement. But still, there's going to be some setbacks along the way. And so you got to be ready for those kind of things. And that is the reason why I am an advocate of the short-term goal. Why? Because it requires a process. A process goal is similar to like a mastery goal. A mastery goal is something that you do every single day to try to perfect your craft. Now, I want to stay away from using the word perfection. You strive for perfection, let's say, knowing that there's never such a thing as perfection. You just do the best you can. Every single day, day by day by day, you're in the gym, you're on the golf course, you're on the court, wherever your sport takes place, you are there. Now, if you need some time off, just take time off. But when you're you're in training, and you work at it every single day. That is your short-term goal. Now, let me clarify one thing about being specific on a short-term goal. A short-term goal can be like a week long. It can be, say, 4 weeks long. I want to place in the top 10 in this upcoming event. Okay, fine. Then what does it take to get in the top 10? That's the first thing. And secondly, do I have the time enough to get there from where I currently am? So in other words, let's say if you're, a sprinter and you're saying, I want to get in the top, 5 in this event. Okay, well, what was the precedent that was set last year? How fast did you have to become to be in the top 5? What is your what are your times right now, and do you have time to take off that amount of time in this short a period of time? If you say to yourself, yeah, I've got time to do that, then fine, go get it. That's a good short-term goal. It is a daily thing. And then all of a sudden, when you get to the match, you know what? You're ready. You have paid the price and you are ready. Now, there may be other people there that are ready as well. So you can't control what they do, but you certainly can control what you do, and you do your best. You have paid your price, whatever that price is, and now you have done your best. So even if you don't get into your top 5, well, you know what? Figure it out. Maybe they're all faster now, or maybe you've come up against 4 other people or 5 other people that were just, this was a freaky kind of event, and you fell out of the top 5. That's okay. You now look to the next goal and say, you know what? I achieved my goal of getting to the time that I thought would get me in the top 5. It just happens to be there were 5 other people there that, were better than me that day. That was sort of an anomaly. So therefore, I am going to raise my goal just a little bit because there's another event in another 4 weeks. And now I'm going to work even harder, if possible, to shave off a little bit more time. There you have it. See, that keeps you motivated. But if you just said, I'm going to win this event, and then you came in 6th, it might be a tough thing for you. You see, it might be a tough thing. You've got to do your math. You've got to do the quantitative part first, and then set a very specific goal. I want to achieve X. Here I am at Y, and if I do Z, then I'll get to X. Okay, great. Well, X may not be the win, though. You see, it could just be a personal win. That is why these goals have to be so specific. It has to be a victory for you, not necessarily a victory in the whole thing. It has to be very, very specific to you in a short-term manner so that it motivates you to get cracking every single day. You do not have one day to waste on this goal. And you know what? If you are slacking, your times are going to show, or your scores are going to show. you then going to have to go back and sort of look at it again and say, well, am I really that dedicated on this thing? But I'm assuming that you are. If you don't reach your goal, then maybe your goal was set a little too high. You can go back and lower that. No problem. And then we go back and reevaluate. You talk to your coaching staff. You move forward. That is specific. Time, place, day by day expenditure of energy, time, money, whatever it takes, in order to logically approach a specific goal. Reasonableness, not some pie in the sky fantasy of expectation like, I'm going to be the greatest runner since Usain Bolt. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're going to run this race next week or in a month. You're going to do the best you can. You're going to train every single day. You're going to take off, maybe a half a second a week based on your training and your training schedule. And then that's going to be like, a second and a half off of your time, which hopefully based on last year is going to get you in the top 5. You never know. That time could win. You simply don't know. But it doesn't matter. See, if you set a personal goal, there's your short-term goal. And guess what? If you reach your goal, you know how motivated you're going to be for next time? Sky high. And now you're going to go for your midterm goal. Your midterm goal may be, say 3 months, 6 months, something like that. And that could be, well, I'm playing on some mini tour events now. I'm Monday qualifying right now. And the web Q school is in November. Let's say maybe we're in the summer now, the spring or whatever. You work all the way up to that point. Again, on a weekly basis, you're playing in a tournament every week or every 2 weeks. You've got a scoring average you want to maintain. You got a putting average you want to maintain, greens and regulation, fairways hit, something like that. And then you figure out, well, what does it take to get a tour card on the web.com? Well, it takes, 16 under par for 4 days or 5 days or whatever it is. Okay, 16 under par. Do we know where the golf course is? Yeah, you'll probably know where it is. It'll already be posted more than likely. So you go to that course and then you start laying it out. Based on what happened last year, 16, maybe 18 under par, that's the number right there. So based on what happened previously, you figure out that it's going to take, a minimum of 16 under par to get that tour card. Okay, fine. What do I have to do now in order to reach that goal, which is in 6 months down the road? What do I got to do? Well, I got to make more putts. I got to hit more greens. Fine. How do you do that? Well, I need a little bit more accuracy off the tee. Great. How do you do that? Well, I need to work on my swing play. There you go. You see how you break it down step by step by step by step. Short-term goals, daily goals, mini victories, if you would. Every day is a victory. Every day you're working on your game is one step closer. Then, on a week-to-week basis or a bi-weekly basis, you're playing in a golf tournament, right? How did you do in the tournament? What are your stats in the tournament? That's your short-term goal that is going to hopefully reflect a curve of improvement, right? Because your midterm goal is to get that web.com tour card. In order to get that web.com tour card, that web.com card, then you're going to need a certain amount of greens and regulation to give you the best opportunity to make these putts, because you know what your putting average is. Inside 20 feet is this, inside 10 feet is this, and so forth and so on. So the more greens you hit, the more birdies you're likely to make. So if you feel like you need to hit 4 more greens in regulation, then and you're not that accurate outside of 180, here we go. Then get out there and start banging that 6-iron or whatever it is you see. That's what I'm saying. And then all of a sudden in your practice rounds, and then in your practice tournament rounds or your weekly tournament rounds, all of a sudden your numbers start edging up. Your numbers start creeping up. By the time 6 months comes around, you've paid the price every single week and you're confident. And when you got a confident athlete that is paying the price, then you got somebody who is reasonable, has a reasonable expectation of success, and not some pie in the sky person that says, you know what, I'm going to win the Masters this year. I'm going to get that PG. You know what, I'm going all the way to the top. There's only been very few people in history of sports that have done that. And so more than likely, those are freaky athletes. More than likely, that's not you. but hopefully it is you. But still, even those athletes have to have goals, all right? So then let's talk about a long-term goal. What is a specific long-term goal? I want to play on the PGA Tour. Let's say if it's right now, 2019, I want to play on the PGA Tour by the time 2021 rolls around. Well, that means then you got to play on the web and be in the top 50 or whatever the number is on the web. And then you'll get your, either a provincial or you'll be a full status tour player. If I'm not mistaken, it's 25 and 25, I think. What does that number look like? What is the number there? It's about the money. Okay, so if it's about the money, how much money do you have to make in order to be fully exempt on the PGA Tour? What is the 1 through 25? What's the number? Then you take that number and say, well, look at the stats of those players. What are their averages? I mean, as far as greens and regulation, as far as putts made, fairways, scoring average, and how are they doing it? And then you compare and contrast to what you're doing it. In other words, the long-term goal is specific. I want to play on the PGA Tour by 2021, saying this is 2019. They'll give you 2 years. Okay, great, because you got to go 1 year on the web, then you work your way up to the web, get on the web 1 year, PGA Tour qualifying school, or you go on to the, you make your money on the web, and then here you go. You got your card. Simple as that, right? Not so simple, because it is extremely important to let your subconscious mind work on this over a period of time, and that's something that's real. It is not some pie in the sky. All right, that is very important. Very important. I want to urge you to think about that. Specific short term, specific midterm, specific long term, real, not pie in the sky, not a fantasy. You've broken it down literally day by day. When you look at your calendar, when you look at it on the wall, you're 1 day closer. You're paying the price. And then when you get there, hopefully you do get there without big bumps in the road or anything. It's not a surprise. It's no surprise. You paid the price. That's the way great athletes work. They work at it every single day. That's your job. The M in SMART is measurable. And just like I said, in golf, you do, what are the stats? In racing, what are the stats? Everything has got a stat. It doesn't matter what sport or what you do as far as an athlete, there's somebody measuring you. Something is measuring you, okay? And so tennis, very simple. How many double faults are you making? How many errors are you making? You go from there. You check the stats. In golf, lots of stats. Baseball, stats. Football, stats. Everybody's got stats. Why do you want the stats? Because then you can measure, am I getting closer and closer to my goal? And if you're not, just stop right there and then reassess. What am I doing wrong? What am I not doing here? Get your coach out there. Say, Coach, I've been doing this for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm not making any progress. We need to make a change. Okay, fine. Well, do you understand what the coach is trying to get you to do? Is it not working for you specifically, or is it just something that it just doesn't jive in your mind? You can't see it. You can't implement it in your mind, you see. So then you just reassess and then go forward, right? You want to wait 6 months or a year. You want to do it on a weekly basis as far as being measured are concerned. Every single week you're measuring your success. Why? Because that gives you more motivation. Yes, I am moving in the right direction. Yes, I am moving closer to my goal. Check, forward. That gives you a powerful motivation. Measurable. It has to be measurable. The A in SMART is achievable. Just like I said, it is not a pie in the sky thing. Lots of people talk. They love to tell you what they're going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And that's great. Every 11-year-old has a dream, and that's fine. You not want to be the person as a coach, a parent, or a consultant to squash a dream, right? Especially with a young person. Just let them go ahead and dream. I mean, they're a kid one time. However, with the adult, with the 20-year-old, the 21-year-old, the 25-year-old, when is this going to happen? When is this goal going to take place now, you see? because at one point in time, you're going to hit the point of diminishing return, and you got to work twice as hard to get back half the result. So as an athlete gets older, if they're not continuously and working out every single day, in which older athletes have a tendency to slow down their effort. But if you're one of these Bernhard Langer types that just are so dedicated, but there's a reason why there's only one Bernhard Langer now in 2019 at 61 years old. The man stretches 3 times a day, works out every single day. I mean, there is a reason why. You look at most players on the champion tour, they don't look like Bernhard Langer does, you see. And so there is a reason why. This is not magic for Langer or for you. Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. It's fairly simple. In his case, he's been doing it for a long time. How much are you working out every single day? How much are you trying to strive to perfect your craft every single day? I said strive for perfection. I did not say perfection. You do your best. That's your overall goal, doing your best. You are not perfect, and I certainly am not one of these people that are asking you to be perfect. I am asking you to strive for perfection, which is another word for doing your best. Do your best. That is your overall goal right there. And simply stated, achievable means you have the ability, you have the talent, you've got the time, you've got the resources, whether that be coaching or place to do it, finances, to achieve your goal. You have the ability to do it. A lot of people in the world do not have that. There may be the next Jack Nicklaus could be caught somewhere down below the border or something. You don't know. See, that is the reason why, if you have the ability to do something right now, if you think you have the talent, just go out and do it. Just go out and do it. There are so many people in the world that have been blessed with hand-to-eye coordination or whatever it is it takes to be a great athlete. They'll never know. They'll never know. Why? Because they don't have the resources. The goal cannot be achieved because of where they are in the world. But if you're one of the people that you can do it, just go out and do your best. You got nothing to lose. Just go out and do it and see what happens. But I will tell you this. If you feel like that you can't achieve the goal and it's just a fantasy, I would save yourself a bunch of time. But here's the catch-22 on this. Who's going to tell you this? Who can tell you that you don't have enough talent? Well, you know what? Your sport will. Your sport's going to tell you, whether you want to hear it or not. It's going to tell you. That was a famous story about Dean Beeman when he saw Jack Nicklaus play. He said, you know what? I can't compete with this guy. And he went on to be the commissioner of the PGA Tour. But you know what? You didn't have to compete with Jack Nicklaus. That was an anomaly. Jack Nicklaus was an anomaly, a freak athlete. He could have probably played PGA Tour golf, but he saw Jack Nicklaus and he saw, a freak athlete and says, I can't compete with him. Well, who could? You see, but Jack Nicklaus didn't win every event, right? So people make great money, even in the days of Jack Nicklaus, you see. So there was a mistake that perhaps Dean Beeman said it in his own mind. But in your mind, do you have the ability to do it? I don't know. Well, the sport will tell you. Based on the stats, then you'll know whether or not you have the ability or not. And if you do, just keep going forward. But if you don't, you might want to save yourself a bunch of heartache and pain, time and money. Reassess and you can stay in the sport, do lots of stuff. Coach, be a sports psychologist, anything you want to do in the sport. But maybe you're not gifted enough to play the sport at the highest level. Hard thing for people to swallow because they've got a lot of investment into it. The investment in here is what I'm saying. Ego and everything else. And they may have a lot of investment as far as finances. So it might be hard for somebody to swallow and say, you know what, I don't have the ability to keep up. I don't have the ability to hit that far. And so, how much longer is it going to take me, strength and everything else, strength training, all that, to get to that point where I can keep up? You follow what I mean? This is some tough decisions when it comes to goal setting, and it needs to be set with someone that you can trust, who will be honest with you, and not just some rah-rah person that's, oh, you can do it. No, get together with your coach, an honest person, and say, look, you could do it if X, Y, Z, A, B, C, so forth and so on. And then you got to realize, what, do I really want to pay that price? And is my time worth all of the energy, money, and effort that I got to put into this? I could be doing 10,000 other things, making 10,000 times more money. Do I really want this that badly? If you do, go forth. The R is either relevant or realistic, just like I was saying. In other words, is this a goal that you're paying the price, all right? On a weekly basis, you're paying the price, but you're not getting any better, or you're not getting the strides you feel like you need to do in order to achieve your midterm or your long-term goal. Well, what could be the problem? Well, quite frankly, you may not have enough talent to do it. In order to play on the PGA Tour or go to the Olympic Games, that's why they have trials. That's why they have the web.com. That's why they have the mini tour. It's a weeding out process. It's like the wheat and the shaft are being separated. And if you have enough ability, enough talent, then you'll continue to go up. But if you don't, you know what? The sport will tell you loud and clear. Now, here's the funny thing about this whole thing, and part of the reason that you're here. You may have the talent, but you know what? What's going on up here? You see, because lots of people have talent. They've got the raw gift, but they don't have the brains enough to figure out these things that we're talking about right now. So it could be a matter, how much are you working on your mental game? One of the logos, if you would, of my company, Level 3 Sports, is how much would you say your sport is mental? What percentage would you say your sport is mental in nature? 50%, 60%? Some people even say as much as 90% mental. If that's the case, if the sport is 90% mental, then how much are you working on your mental game? Well, and you know what the answer normally is? I'm not. Well, there you go. If the sport is 90% mental and you're not working on your mental game, then how do you expect to improve? There you go. Don't know what to work on, but you're here. And so goal setting then is part of the mental puzzle. How to set a goal. I know it sounds sort of simple, but there is so much more here than just saying, well, I have a goal of playing on the PGA Tour. It's not enough. How are you going to get there? What's your scoring average now? What do you need to work on? What are you working on right now? What does your coach say? Where are you working? All of these questions, you see, that's part of smart goal setting. Anyone can say, I want to play on the PGA Tour, I want to play in the NFL. It's not enough. That's a pie in the sky fantasy. And you know what? Your subconscious mind will go along with it. Subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between something fantasy and something that is real. It'll go along with it, but you know who's going to stop you? Time. And before you waste a bunch of time, energy, and money, get yourself somebody that is objective, somebody you can trust, an expert in the field, to say, look, do I have the ability to do it? Do I have the raw talent to do it? And if you do, then set it up. Set your goals up with a map, like I said, A, B, C. And then go forward and do the best you can do with a realistic expectancy outcome, not some unicorn flying with Pegasus. And then finally, the T for SMART is time. Well, that is the short-term, mid-term, and long-range goal, right? So you set it up. I want to play on the PGA Tour in 2021. Here we are in 2019. Great. Does that give you enough time to do it? And does that sound reasonable to you? In other words, the goal is not like 10 years out, right? The goal is like 1, 2, 3 years, maybe for an Olympian, 4 years out. But even an Olympian, it is a week-to-week, month-by-month work, and then feedback giving from a coaching staff and the staff to give you what you need to do to work on next. Are you improving? Yeah. Are you improving? No. Okay. Yes. Keep going. Keep improving on that route. No. Make a change. Reassess and go on again. Right? time then is the thing that you got to keep in mind. How long are you going to try this goal? How long are you going to keep this thing up? So I'll tell you a quick story, a quick, very personal, painful story about myself and my lack of time management as far as goal setting is concerned. I was one of those people that just was dogged. I'm not going to quit until I reach this goal. One of those people, everybody knows. You could be one too. I will never, ever quit, ever. Okay. Well, so I kept banging balls until I was in my early 30s and still convinced that I was going to get on to the PGA Tour. But I was trying to do it alone because, I just felt like I knew what I was doing. And so, now we're talking a long time ago before sports psychology. But, during those precious years, I was so dogged, with my blinders on, that I was going to make that goal. I was going to do it. That's it. End of conversation, end of story. And I sacrificed a lot. But during those years, those are the prime income years right in there, mid-20s until your mid-30s. I mean, that's when the career starts, booms, goes up. So what did I do? I kept banging balls. Whereas now I know that I've got a few marbles in my head. I could have gone to college and graduated much sooner than I did, as I did later in life. But I was so dogged with my long-term goal was the PGA Tour. I didn't lay it out though. You see, I was just haphazardly playing in a tournament here and there, keeping a few stats here and there. I didn't have it all laid out systematically like I'm talking to you now in the SMART goal, in the SMART anagram, you see. I didn't lay it all out. And so what ended up happening was time got me until I reached a point where I said, how much longer are we going to do on this kind of thing? How much longer if I'm going to drive a piece of crap car and living in a one-bedroom apartment, you see? When I knew I had brains in my mind. I suspected I did because I was a good student in high school and, certainly. But I just was one of those people that was just, I'm going to make this goal if it's the last thing I do. So you can say, well, that's a person that is not a quitter. And that's true. That is a true statement. However, it's not that smart. And so what I'm asking you to do, in either you as an athlete or you as a coach or a parent, is to make it smarter. Use the SMART technique that I am referring you on to make your goals smarter and measurable, and then put a time limit on it. So then if, there has to be a reckoning at some point in your life and saying, look, how much more treasure am I going to spend on this thing? And then what can I reasonably expect back out of this thing? What am I going? How much longer am I going to keep going towards this goal until this thing swallows me up? It's an obsession. That's the difference. See, that's what you have to sort of separate in your mind. Is this thing just an obsession with me? And if it is, I'm not sure that an obsession is a healthy thing mentally. In fact, I know it's not. And so that is why the SMART goal setting process can keep you from that road that if you're not good enough, if you don't have enough talent, if you didn't lay it all out in the smart way, will keep you from wasting time, energy, and money. Another part of this being process goals versus outcome goals. An outcome goal, very simple. I want that new 911. Okay. All right, great. Go get it. Well, fine. I want that giant mansion. I want to buy my mama a house. Okay, that's fine. And that's great, but I'm a process man. How are you going to buy that house? How are you going to buy that 911? But even deeper, on a deeper level, why? Not how, why? So you say, well, I'm going to buy that 911. Great. All right. The minute you drive off the lot, that sucker has just lost 20% of its value. So if you've got to have that, why not buy one that's used? And that way the reduction in the price of the car has already been worn off, and yet it's only been 6,000, 8,000, 9,000 miles, brand new. It's basically brand new anyway. You just let somebody else eat the reduction in cost of that car. You see what I'm saying? Smart. You want to buy a house for $1.5 million, and yet your contract is $2.5 million. Well, you know your contract may be $2.5 million, but that's not what you're taking home after your taxes and paying everybody. You might take home $1.7 million, and you just bought a $1.5 million house. It's not smart. Why not take that money and buy 10 rental properties, at $50,000 a piece or something like that? You follow me? Smart goals. What I'm saying, process goals. You got an outcome goal. I want to make $5 million. Great. How you going to do that? How are you going to make $5 million? By the process. The process is a daily thing. A, B, C equals D. It is not A, B, C equals Z, Z being the outcome. The outcome will happen if you do it on a daily basis. That's why success is boring. It's just a step-by-step thing. People, you hear about bands and you hear about athletes, they're an overnight success. Yeah, it took me 15 years to get here, but I'm an overnight success. Sure. No, what? Rarely ever do you see that happening. People work on their craft for years and years to get it right. They work in the process. The process is a day by day by day by day by day flow. Doing your best, whatever that is, whatever it takes, you're doing it. Instead of saying, you know what, this year I'm going to be on the PGA Tour. Okay, great. That's a long-term outcome goal. Now, I'm a process man. I hear you. How are you going to do it? I'm going to put that athlete right back into the SMART system. And then we're going to break it down for them step by step by step. The last part of this presentation is about the difference between goals and expectation. I know that this is a very touchy subject, right? That expectation is a big deal when it comes to coaches and parents and things like that. But you know what? It doesn't matter what a coach said. It doesn't matter what a parent said. It only matters what the athlete feels in their mind. And so let's say you got an athlete that is desperately trying to make the parent proud or make the coach proud or something like that. Then they're working on their game. Work every single day. They know that the parent is spending money on somebody like myself and the best equipment and everything else. You're stacking expectancy on top of that parent. I am working every single day. I have got the best equipment. I am working with Dr. Trammel. I've got this, I got that, and everything else. Then therefore, all of that, and I expect the outcome that I deserve. Wow. How many times have I heard that? And then you know what happens many times with that client? They get worse. There's no adage in the game of golf, and I hate adages, but this one happens to make sense, is the harder you try, the worse you do. I never could understand it for many years, but now I know exactly what it means now. And so it's about expectations, you see. So when you have resources and you are spending those money and you're buying that new $500 driver and that $5 ball and all the other stuff, like say for golf, right? You have bought it all. You got everything. Taking the lessons and, you're doing everything. Well, then you may have a tendency to say, you know what? I need a payoff here. I need that payoff because that only makes sense, right? I mean, that's logical. That I'm spending all this time, treasure, and energy and money. I mean, I should be getting a return for my investment. Wrong. That's the trap right there. That's the trap of expectancy as opposed to goals. That's why I'm urging you. If you're an independent athlete, golf, tennis, pickleball, doesn't matter. If you're an independent athlete and you're not on a team, I am urging you to drop expectancy altogether, or maybe just manage it, just make it flat. I expect to do my best. How about that? I expect to win this tournament. Okay, then what happens if you come in last? You know what? You might have a tendency to feel very disappointed. I've been working on my game all summer. I've got these new clubs and lessons and working with a sports psych guy, and I came in last. I don't understand. Yeah, right, because you tried hard. You tried really hard, and your expectation was stacked on top of you. Now, let me explain it. What happens when an athlete has high expectations, that goes unfulfilled. This is the heart of the adage, harder you try, worse you do. Because if you think about it, think about trying hard. What does that mean in your mind? You're trying hard. I'm grinding. I am really in there. I'm grinding. Well, you're forcing shots, and you're tight and you're tense. You're, one of these things. So for the sports that are hand-to-eye coordination, fine motor movement, the harder you try, harder you swing, less relaxation that you have, then what can happen is, because golf and tennis are games of timing, and the timing really is in your hands. This is the result of is in your hands, but it's the tension that could happen in your large muscles because you're trying hard. So then all of a sudden, if you have banged 50 balls onto the range straight down the middle, and then you go to the first tee and you feel like that you're going to hit one down the middle just because you hit 50 and down the middle on the driving range, the environment is different. You've got a different environment now. Now you got your buddies watching, and all of a sudden this is a dog leg left. The drains were straight ahead. There's a sand bunker out there. All of these things come in, so I got to try a little harder to not hit it in that sand. There you go. Then all of a sudden the ball goes 50 yards to the left. But you hit 50 straight balls just like that. You did not hit one left, but there it goes to the left. Why? You tried hard. Tried hard to not miss it. You tried hard to not go left. You see what I mean? That's trying hard mentally, which then manifests itself physically on the next two drives coming up, because now you can't understand. But you know what? You're up. This is what I'm saying about the mental game. This is the trap of expectation. This is the trap of expectation. So what is the solution? A solution is just goals. Just like what we've been doing, just like what we've been talking about. Just set up a goal. What is the goal? Hit the fairway. Hit the fairway. Well, how am I going to hit the fairway? With the same swing that you just put on these 50 balls. It would be too many balls to hit before a round anyway, but nevertheless, let's say if it was 10 balls. Just use the same swing here as over there. You know what? It's the same swing. The swing doesn't change unless you change it. Due to situational anxiety, I guess, maybe that may be part of it, but also it could be because you're trying hard. You're trying too hard to hit that fairway. Just use the same swing over here that you did over there. It's the same swing. Nothing has changed unless it changed up here. You're trying harder now because now this counts. You're on the tee box, this really counts. Didn't count over there. Counts here though, so I got to try hard over here. You follow where I'm going? So then the goal then on the driving range is hit one down the middle every single time, and you're pretending like it's the first hole. It counts. So that if you hit one a little bit left, you figure it out right there. And then you take that same mindset over onto the first tee. You know what? It's the same swing. Subconscious mind will know the difference. You just hit 10, 15, 20 balls on the same hole. It just happened to be on the driving range. But your mind doesn't know the difference if you sit there and visualize it over and over and over again. It's the same shot. So then we get up over the actual tee box. You know what? It's the same shot. You've just been hitting it for the last 10 or 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. Same thing. Your goal was the same. Down the right-hand side, down the right-hand side. Thank you very much. There you go. You see the difference. One was just simply goal-based. The other is now, because I got this new, X1Z blank driver that I spent $1,000 on, this thing is going to fly to the moon now. That's an outcome. That's got nothing to do with reality. What I'm saying is stay in the process. Stay in the process. Get yourself a process goal. How am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Not I'm going to do it, and that's great, that's an outcome. How am I going to do it? What's the process of me hitting it from A to B, or whatever your sport is? Staying in the SMART mode, your subconscious mind will just break it down step by step by step, and there's no emotion to it. Expectation, though, a lot of emotion. So I say to you as a good friend or your father or coach, I expect you to do well today. Got a lot, you're going to do it today. You're ready to go. You've been paying the price. You're playing great on the practice rounds. Yeah, green light, go. Green light, go. We're looking great. I can't imagine that you're not going to do great. Wow, I'm so excited for you. You know how destructive and crazy that would be for a coach or a parent to say that, yet they do it every single day. That is expectancy talk right there. You should be doing this because. And you can look forward to this because. The because is the trigger word right there. You don't deserve anything. Nothing. Nothing. The sport owes you nothing. Go out there and do your thing like you do it in practice, if in practice you've been doing it right. The sport owes you nothing. But if you have high expectations due to past high self-efficacy or past success, then what you're looking for is failure. Because if you don't have the same success that you're expecting to have, you know what could happen? You're going to try harder. And then if you don't see that success, frustration may come on top of you like a giant wave. So if this is your expectancy and this is your actual execution, then the frustration will just come right on top of you. And when you've got a frustrated athlete, you know what happens? Two things. Either they're going to quit or they're going to try even harder. It's a cruel circle, understand. But managing your expectations, that's why I've said if you're an individual athlete, why don't you think about just dropping expectations altogether and replacing them with goals. Now, with that though, let me talk about team sports and expectations. I realize that there's another old saying, and I hate these things, all ships, expectations, rise all ships or something dumb like that. And it can be true, but if you're on a great football team, let's say Alabama or something like that, and you come in to that team, the expectation every year is winning the national championship. And this is not a pie in the sky thing for that team. And so because they've won so many, over the last several years, right? 10, 12, 15 years, they've won so many. So you get an athlete that comes into that program and they have no expectations or low expectations. That athlete may get himself run out of there because the team environment is so intense that lots of players want to be on that team. And if you can't keep up, there's probably 5 guys that can, and they're just as good as you. So if you can't deal with the pressure of keeping up on a squad that has, half of them or whatever the number is, the NFL, then you're going to get run out of there. And so my suggestion to you is, again, you understand the expectations. You get it. That's why you're there. However, you're going to do your job every single day to improve. And you're going to let the expectations just wash over you. You understand the culture of expectation. But I would prefer that you just stay in the process, because you know what? If you got the goods and you got the talent, the process of working on your mastery every single day will meet your expectations. You'll meet your expectations then, or everyone else's expectations. That's the main thing, because there's going to be a lot of expectations from the coaches, from the fans, from the media, all that kind of stuff. If you allow that to affect you, I can't keep up. I've got all of these expectations on me because I am so great. I don't want the spotlight on me, and then therefore I'm going to self-sabotage. That is going down the rabbit hole. You say, well, what is that? Have you not ever heard of a Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks that leave college that are total busts in the NFL day one? Think about who I'm talking about. Think about the kind of athlete that'll do that. Outland Trophy winning athletes, national winners, NCAA national collegiate champions that are total busts when they get out of college, right? Think about it. Why is that? The expectation coming out of one controlled environment into an uncontrolled environment is so great that either they know they're really not that good and they're a fraud, or really they don't want all the spotlight on them. They don't want it. It's too much. Fear of failure. Here we go down the old cognitive rabbit hole now. Fear of letting everybody down. Well, where does that fear come from? Fear of high expectations. I can't meet all these expectations, so therefore I got to get myself injured, or therefore I'm going to go out and get loaded, or therefore I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to self-sabotage, give myself a perfect excuse for not reaching and these other people's expectations of me. I know it may sound odd, but it happens all the time, and it happens in a lot of sports, right? You can think about it on every sport. You probably know somebody in your sport that had so gifted, and yet they destroy their own career. Why did they do that? Expectations was too high. They didn't want it. It's too much responsibility. When you've been gifted with great talent, it's too much. The crown weighs heavy, But some people, they have no problem dealing with it. And you know why? Because they probably don't even think about expectation. They think about process. I'm going to hit it from A to B. I'm going to throw it from A to B and just go from there. Tom Brady probably is a good example of that, even though I've never spoken to him. How can a man be so good for so long? Well, he's got a great gift. He works on his craft. I can tell you that. We know that for a fact. And yet, his expectation is probably going out there just to do my best. But he probably, I don't know, I'm not sure if that team goes in and says, this year we're going to win the Super Bowl. They may just say, look, we're going to do our best. And I know for a fact that Coach Belichick has a sign, do your job right in the locker room. You do that, and you know what? You'll fulfill your expectation, whatever that expectation is. But I would warn people saying, what are our expectations this year? Win a national championship. Okay, great. How? How are we going to do that? How are we going to win a national championship? We're not even out of spring practice yet. You see what I mean? That's why you manage these kind of things and don't let other people put them on you. You are in control of your athletic environment. No coach, parent, nobody lays expectation on you. You manage it yourself. Do the best that you can. That, my hope, is the expectation that you put on yourself. And you know what? Better than that, just lay out a series of goals that you can meet on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. That way you've got no emotional attachment to them, which expectations many times has. And expectations many times seems like there's a lot of emotion attached to it. I expect to do X, came up Y, frustration. Frustration is an emotion. You don't want that. It's negatively associated with failure. However, you say, this is my goal. I fell a little short, so guess what? I'm just going to put it down here next time. Okay, great. Well, that's just a goal. Great. But an expectation seems like every time I've ever spoken about it or spoken to other people about it, there's an emotional component to expectancy. And then that is the roll of the dice right there. Why even go through it? Why even think about that kind of stuff? That would eliminate any possibility of failure. You can't fail if you have managed your expectation, or better yet, drop your expectation and just make a series of SMART goals. That is why this this presentation is so important, and that's why I'm so passionate about goal setting, because you know what? I was that guy. I was that guy with a lot of emotion attached to a long-term expectation. Why? Because I was the guy out there beating balls every single day. I was that guy. I know how frustrating it can be when you don't meet your expectancies. And so if I had known, obviously, then, as I'm laying it out to you now, then who can say? But there wasn't anyone like me back in them days. But now that's why I'm telling you, consider thinking about eliminating expectations and replacing it with SMART goals. I realize that this kind of a thing could be very controversial, certainly to the old guard out there. That we expect to be perfect. We expect this, we expect that. But you know what? You look at the modern day very successful coaches in today's athletic world. These days of yelling and screaming and putting unrealistic expectations and talking about what we're going to do. No, you don't so much hear that anymore. What you hear about mainly are process, day to day, just doing things smart. I remember thinking that, you got to hit 500 balls a day. And that was the expectation, that was the expectancy of playing a PGA Tour player. It was a lie then, and it's a lie now. Why hit all those balls? Why not just hit, say, 50 balls 5 or 7 days a week, have them really targeted, and then you're working with your sports psychologist for 5 hours a week. And then you're working with your putting coach for 5 hours a week. And then you're working on your course management for 5 hours a week. All of those things add up, 40, 50 hours a week. And then you know what? Take a day off. Go to the beach or do something that's relaxing. Get away from the game for a little bit. And then you come back, you're fresh the very next day, and we start all over again. I go through my process every single week. A, B, C equals D. It's not A, B, and C equals, oh God, but I'm going to play the tour next year. No, you're not. You're not going to play the tour. More than likely, you're not. Because if you were, you would already have been there. Let's just take this thing step by step by step by step. By the time you get there, you'll be ready. Mentally, you'll be ready. There will be no guess games. And hopefully you stay healthy. Those are the things then in the middle of I'm going to do this and this is where I am. There's a lot of grass in between those two things. This is what I want and this is where I am. There's a lot of real estate in there. Injury is one of them, and you manage that as well. And so that is why I like setting goals more than setting expectations. Expectations up and down, an emotional roller coaster. Goals just sort of flat, just sort of dry. I have a term I use, they're dryly executed. You just check them off. Boop. I hit 25 balls today, and every one of them is string straight. Bam, there you go. I'm going to hit another 25 balls tomorrow, and we're going to go from there. And then when I go on the golf course, then I can say with reasonableness, you know what? I'm going to hit a certain amount of fairways today based on what I've been doing, and that would be reasonable. So then therefore my goal then would be to hit, let's say 11 out of 14 fairways. All right, well that's 60, 70%. That's about the tour average right there. Great. And then the 3 that I missed, I'm going to figure out what I did wrong on those. And then same thing with my greens and regulation. How many greens am I going to hit? Well, my goal is going to be to hit 11 because the tour average is about 12, something like that. So if I hit 10, I'm going to figure out, well, where am I on that? Am I long? Is there a pattern here of short, long, right, left? I mean, is it my club selection? What am I doing wrong on those 8 or 9 that I missed? And I figure it out. And is it my alignment maybe? Am I hitting most of them left, hitting them right? I'm not judging the wind. There's something there in the puzzle, in the quantitative puzzle that's not making sense. Instead of saying, gosh, I should have hit 14 greens today, man. I mean, I am puring everything. I should be doing better. You know what you're going to do the next day? You're going to go out there and bang 150 balls. And then you know what's going to happen? You're going to be real tight, sore, and then you're going to miss more greens, and then you're going to try harder, and then you're going to get more frustrated because your expectation is so high because you put in so much effort and tried real hard. It's not smart. I know it sounds like opposite, but that's many times what sport is. Opposites. Harder you try, worse you do. I hate saying it, but it's true. Am I saying not to practice? Absolutely not. But what I am saying is practicing smart. Getting yourself people surrounding you that know more about this game than you do, that can advise you and say, look, it's not necessary to hit all these balls. It's not necessary to get out here and ruin your knees every single day. It's not necessary. Just do things on a daily basis. And then these guys that come out, 1 hour early and all that kind of stuff for a couple days a week to impress the coach, let them. That's fine. Guys out there banging 500 balls a day, that's fine. You know what? I'm just hitting my 50 every day. And then next week their hands are so sore, they're so tight, they got a shoulder injury. You see what I'm saying? Just play it smart. Play it smart. Get yourself a mentor. Get yourself somebody that you can trust to give you the feedback. The goals things that I was just describing is part of that. That will help you to become the athlete that you hope to be down the road in your long-term goal. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this presentation on goals and goal setting. I know that some of it can be a little bit controversial at times, and that's fine, because a lot of this stuff is what's happening with the new athlete. Not the thing that happened 25 years ago. Athletes and athletics are evolving every single year, and you've got to think now about ways to get better and to improve in ways that maybe you never did, right? With your nutrition, with your stretching routine, with your strength and conditioning, with your massage therapy, all of these things. And certainly what I'm doing, sports psychology. If an athlete is not using the sports psychology, I don't know what they're doing. I really don't know. And so you get some athletes, though, that at the top of their game, they got all those bases covered. They know what they're eating. They know when they're working out. Everything is laid out for them. Everything. It's like a scientific puzzle. They're putting it together. Everything has been arranged for them by experts. So I ask you, if you're out there by yourself and alone, how are you going to compete against the best players in the world that have everything covered? Follow what I mean? Get yourself educated so that when you start getting up into that stratosphere, you're ready to go. And then you can keep adding pieces of your puzzle together. Personnel, assistants, this company, that company, so forth and so on. So it's not like a giant surprise for you. That's one of the biggest reasons why athletes don't make their long-term goal, is because they're not putting the right pieces of the puzzle together in their methodology. You can't do it alone, not today, not in today's hyper-competitive world. You've got to have a support group around you. And if you can't afford that, then you know what? That's the part of the puzzle that you've got to work on. You've got to find it somehow so that you can put these people in place, experts in their field, to help you move to the next level. So the goals, though, so massive, so huge for your success. I hope that it jogged something in your mind and that it helps you take your game to the next level. So my name is Dr. Richard Trammel. I'm the lead sports psychology consultant for Level 3 Sports. I look forward to talking to you again very soon.